Weather on the Ones, every 10 minutes. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Tammy Fields.
And I'm Greg Angel. Here are your top stories in weather in 90 seconds.
We cannot and will not let terrorists like Hamas and tyrants like Putin win.
President Joe Biden in a primetime address to the American people calling on Congress to approve U.S. assistance for Israel and Ukraine. The president said their wars against Hamas and Russia each represent the importance of protecting democracy.
Orlando Police Chief Eric Smith met with members of the community, assuring them that crime rates in the city are down. Residents, though, came with questions and concerns. One issue brought up: slow response times on 911 calls.
Meanwhile, police in Port Orange arresting this man, Stephen Parker, who's accused of defrauding a woman out of more than $60,000. Police say he was pretending to be a contractor.
Let's get a check right now of your Clash Storm 13 forecast as we head into the weekend.
It is about to become rather warm heading into the next couple of days, especially after a cool start to our week. Here's your Friday forecast as we check out lower 60s early on, expecting lower 70s by mid-morning and lower 80s this afternoon. So we are maybe a degree or two warmer in some locations for your Friday afternoon, but overall looks like a gorgeous, gorgeous stretch ahead. Overnight low temperatures are closer to seasonable levels, daytime highs back into the 80s, and a dry stretch, even with a front nearby.
Well, promising to reduce crime in the city, beautiful Orlando Police Chief Eric Smith coming face-to-face with members of the public.
That's right. Maria Serrano was at that meeting. She brings us more on the major topics of conversation.
A federal judge sentenced former state representative Joe Harding to 4 months in prison. The Marion County Republican pled guilty to wire fraud, money laundering, and making false statements in connection with the COVID-19 relief fraud in May. After his prison time, he's going to have to serve 2 years of supervised release. In a statement, a special agent in charge on the case said, quote, Mr. Harding was held accountable for swindling money out of COVID-19 relief programs created to help small businesses, including Mr. Harding's own constituents, recover from the economic hardships of the pandemic.
President Biden addressed the nation, making the case for billions of dollars in U.S. funding for Israel and Ukraine to help them in their war efforts.
President Biden delivered a rare primetime address saying the attacks by Hamas militants in Israel echo brutality inflicted on Ukraine by Russia. The president also drew attention to the need for humanitarian aid in the Gaza Strip as thousands there remain displaced.
In discussions with the leaders of Israel and Egypt, I secured an agreement for the first shipment of humanitarian assistance from the United Nations to Palestinian civilians in Gaza. Hamas does not divert or steal these shipments. We're going to provide an opening for sustained delivery of life-saving humanitarian assistance for the Palestinians.
The president also renewed his promise to bring the Americans held hostage by Hamas to bring them home. Earlier Thursday, the U.S. Department of State said at least 32 Americans have died in Israel. 11 are unaccounted for. Amid the ongoing fighting between Israel and Hamas, the U.S. Department of State is urging all Americans overseas to be on extra alert.
That as the department issued a general travel warning.
As the city council prepares to vote on a $2 million purchase deal of the site of the Pulse nightclub, the plan is being met with some varied reactions.
Coming up, renewed attention on what the city plans to do with the former nightclub. Keep it here.
We are entering the time of year here at Central Florida where everybody gasps and waits for it and says, I think dry season is here. I'm Brian Carrick. What does that mean? Well, dry season for us for the next several months. Cold fronts, they drop south, bring us cooler, drier air. That happened earlier this week. And we've warmed up a little bit each day, and even today expecting high temperatures close to seasonable levels, lower 80s, but in any case still feels comfortable. Rain chances, they tend to spread themselves out typically along our fronts. Now a front coming in Sunday night is going to basically come through and just shift our wind, no rain. And by the way, the average starts of dry season is October 15th. So progressing through the overnight here, we are watching those clouds thin out. So we're going to wake up this morning with a sun-filled sky. Grab the sunglasses, you will definitely need them. Into the afternoon, look at that. I'm going to keep the clock rolling because we are dry. We are looking at a mostly sunny sky, maybe a couple of puffed up cumulus clouds happen to add a little texture, but overall a dry sky is expected. So as we put it together here through the overnight, clear to partly cloudy conditions, lower 60s. If you've opened up the windows, you've noticed how very pleasant that air is. Now into the afternoon we go. Our average high is 84. We're going to get very close to it. I'll go 83 this afternoon, and yes, we are expecting a mostly sunny sky. Doing some traveling, we'll check out the travel forecast in a second, but I did want to give you a quick update on the weekend. Tomorrow and Sunday, 85. Again, that front comes in on Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. It does not drop us much temperature-wise, and it will not bring us any rain. Just a wind shift more than anything. Okay, here's that travel forecast for you. Low 60s and rain, even some wind into Boston for your Friday afternoon. 74 sunshine in Kansas City. If you're looking for heat, travel toward Dallas, El Paso, and Las Vegas with temperatures at and above 90.
City of Orlando's plan to buy the Pulse property prompted mixed reactions from Pulse survivors and victim families.
Orlando Torres survived the attack and believes the city's plan to buy the property is a step toward having a permanent memorial after too long of a wait, he says. On Monday, the city will vote to approve a potential purchase of the current Pulse nightclub location. The agreed price, $2 million.
Now, the current owners of the property said in a statement that they are grateful to Mayor Buddy Dyer and the City Commission for making this a reality. For 7 years, the Pulse nightclub and future memorial have been a polarizing topic for the city. Plans, ideas, and yet no final memorial has been constructed or even broken ground on. The city did conduct an appraisal on the property, and it is paying slightly more than what the property was appraised for. And for much more on the city's new plan to buy the Pulse site and Monday's upcoming vote on the deal, you can find continuing coverage in the Spectrum News app by scanning the QR code on your screen and our website, mynews13.com. Destination Space News now. NASA says the crew of the Artemis II mission are continuing to train for their trip around the moon. We showed you last month when the 4 astronauts took part in a dry run of launch day operations. Well, that included a trip to NASA's new electric crew transport vans. NASA says 2 crew members, Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen, also took part in a geology training in September. While the Artemis II mission is not going to land on the moon, NASA says the training will prepare them for, quote, lunar observations. It's been about a year since Terminal C opened at Orlando International Airport, and already the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority is looking at upgrades. GOA's board approved a contract to start outlining its Phase 2 development program, which is going to expand Terminal C to accommodate 16 to 24 more gates. All of this meant to handle increasing passenger traffic. GOA says they expect the total number of travelers through MCO by year's end to reach about 58 million. Also getting approval, a replacement of the automated people mover. They're aiming to complete this project in spring of 2027. And improved airfield services, signage, and pavement markings at both MCO and Orlando Executive Airport. That work is set to start next month. We have much more about all the expansions, plus what are airport leaders doing about the parking? That's at mynews13.com.
If we move out of state, we would start all over again.
And they would go to the end of a 20-year waiting list.
What's causing the lengthy wait list and how families of those with disabilities work to provide for each other? Their story coming up in just moments.
Spectrum News 13 is brought to you by Fields BMW. Stop by and experience the BMW X5 and X7 today.
Here are your winning lottery numbers.
Thanks for tuning in here in the overnights. I'm Certified Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick. Well, Biketoberfest kicked off yesterday, and we couldn't ask for better weather as we are anticipating a dry sky not only today, but tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday. And note temperatures, lower 80s. Might feel a touch more humid today and tomorrow, but overall, not too shabby. Just remember to grab the sunscreen as you're out the bike because we are expecting that sun to be rather intense and you can get yourself a burn in under 20-25 minutes. Quick check on Tammy. Tropical storm Tammy working its way back toward the northwest. It is going to eventually curl to the north to the east of Puerto Rico. So we are not expecting anything tropical anywhere near us. As a matter of fact, the Atlantic Basin looking pretty quiet, very quiet across the Caribbean and into the Gulf of Mexico as well. Here's that 7-day forecast as I see it. 84 is the average. High will go 83 this afternoon. Mid 80s for your Saturday and Sunday. And by the way, if you're boating, winds this morning will be about 5 to 10 knots. Then they're going to pick up out of the west this afternoon at 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet or so, and a moderate rip current risk if you're swimming. Mid 80s Saturday, Sunday. The front drops in Sunday night. Again, no rain with it. Not much of a temperature drop, as a matter of fact. It'll swing our wind around. We'll go 84 on Monday. Lower 80s Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Potential for a sprinkle by the middle to end of next week.
In continuation of our coverage for Disability Awareness Month, we want to introduce you to a family that faces a unique set of worries when it comes to their child getting older.
After a certain age, 22 to be exact, young adults with disabilities age out of special needs services. Spectrum News 13's Jacqueline Harold spoke with the local mother and shares why turning 22 has been at the top of her mind since her son's birth.
Socorro says with the amount of people moving to Florida in recent years, more and more names are being added to the agencies for person with disabilities wait list, only making it longer and increasing the wait time for resources.
After another day of conferencing, the House of Representatives is still without a speaker.
In our next half hour, the plan that was rejected and when the next vote could happen. If you're watching Spectrum News 13, keep it here.
I'm Allison Walker, and this week on In Focus, tourism is the economic driver in the state of Florida. But after a crippling COVID-19 pandemic, are the numbers rebounding according to expectations now? And are efforts by Visit Florida working to get tourism in the Sunshine State back to pre-pandemic levels? What have we learned, too? The value of Visit Florida. That is on this week's In Focus, Sunday at 11:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. right here on Spectrum News 13.
Glad you're with us. I'm Greg Angel.
And I'm Tammy Fields. Here are your top stories in weather in 90 seconds. A federal judge found Windermere's John Crowley guilty of 1 felony and multiple misdemeanors for his role in the January 6th attack at the U.S. Capitol. He was part of a group accused of trying to force their way through a line of police officers at the Capitol. Crowley will be sentenced on January 19th.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis back on the presidential campaign trail here in South Carolina. He held an event with the Veterans Group, getting introduced here on stage. A recent Winthrop University poll found the governors trailing both former President Trump and Nikki Haley in the Palmetto State.
Marion County Fire Rescue held a graduation and pinning ceremony for 39 new hires and 38 promotions. The department says it was one of the largest in county history.
All right, here's a quick check of your Clash on 13 forecast.
It is about to become rather warm heading into the next couple of days, especially after a cool start to our week. Here's your Friday forecast as we check out lower 60s early on, expecting lower 70s by mid-morning and lower 80s this afternoon. So we are maybe a degree or two warmer in some locations for your Friday afternoon, but overall looks like a gorgeous, gorgeous stretch ahead. Overnight low temperatures are closer to seasonable levels, daytime highs back into the 80s, and a dry stretch, even with a front nearby.
Port Orange police arrested a man accused of impersonating a contractor and defrauding a woman out of more than $70,000.
Yeah, police say Steve Parker's fraud dates back to at least March of this year when the woman says she hired Parker to handle some repairs and replacements at her home after Hurricane Ian.
The woman told police she received $75,000 in FEMA funds prior to hiring Parker.
He initially requested approximately $30,000 to start the work. When he claimed he was about halfway done, he then requested an additional approximately $30,000.
Well, the detective said the victim paid Parker that money plus an additional $12,000 he requested for workers and other expenses. She says, well, Parker only completed about 15 to 20% of the work. Police are urging anyone who may have also been victimized to give them a call, 386-506-5897. Congressional action on Israel, or really anything else, remains on hold as the GOP remains divided on the matter of who should be the next Speaker of the House.
On Thursday, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz was one of the Republicans who objected to a plan to grant additional power to acting Speaker Patrick McHenry.
I said that I thought that having Speaker Light was a bad idea. I think Republicans ought to stay in our conference until we elect a Speaker.
Well, after that conference ended, Republicans still had not reached a resolution. Now, Jim Jordan says he is going to seek another vote to become Speaker.
Still, many of his opponents say they still won't support him. The next vote is now planned for 10 a.m. on Friday. Spectrum News 13's Karina Capabianca has more. Looking ahead to the 2024 elections, former President Donald Trump continues to comfortably outpace his Republican rivals when it comes to fundraising. According to the latest data from the Federal Elections Commission, Mr. Trump has brought in more than $56 million this year, nearly twice the receipts reported by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at $31 million. The next closest candidate was Vivek Ramaswamy at about $26 million. The gap is more stark when you look at cash on hand. The FEC shows Mr. Trump at over $37 million to just about $12 million for DeSantis and $4 million for Ramaswamy. By comparison, President Joe Biden has raised $44 million for his reelection effort and about $32 million in his war chest.
The Federal Communications Commission has voted to open a process that could reinstate net neutrality rules for Internet providers. The FCC proposal would regulate Internet providers and stop them from blocking or slowing down consumers' access to websites. An FCC chairperson said the proposed rules can also set the stage for future regulations covering everything from consumer privacy to national security. A final vote is not expected until 2024 or beyond.
Jobless claims are going down, and so are stocks.
Still ahead, how the markets fare today and what trends labor experts are seeing. We'll get to that and much more news as we continue.
We are entering the time of year here at Central Florida where everybody gasps and waits for it and says, I think dry season is here. I'm Brian Carrick. What does that mean? Well, dry season for us for the next several months. Cold fronts, they drop south, bring us cooler, drier air. That happened earlier this week. And we've warmed up a little bit each day, and even today expecting high temperatures close to seasonable levels, lower 80s, but in any case, still feels comfortable. Rain chances, they tend to spread themselves out typically along our fronts. Now, a front coming in Sunday night is going to basically come through and just shift our wind, no rain. And by the way, the average start of dry season is October 15th.
Duke Energy is asking Florida Public Service Commission for permission to reduce billing rates for next year.
But as Spectrum News 13's Aaron Murray shows us, some customers say an $11 reduction does not go far enough. Central Florida leaders gathered to celebrate Hispanic small businesses. Prospera is a local nonprofit providing bilingual assistance to Hispanic entrepreneurs. Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer and Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings joined Prospera leaders in recognizing the nonprofit's partners for their contributions to the Central Florida community. To Prospera's partners, the event is proof that Hispanic small businesses can succeed.
It means a lot in terms of the community that we serve and the community we left behind at some point in our life. So be successful is a way to say to others that they can also do it.
Now, this ceremony is part of the City of Orlando's goal of supporting Hispanic small businesses and sparking economic development.
Having someone by your side can help you feel at ease, but what about the health benefits?
The new research that could show a possible link to cancer concerns. We'll explain.
Thanks for tuning in here in the overnights. I'm Certified Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick. Let's bring it closer to home. We've been watching a big ridge of high pressure, and as that high has been shifting away toward the east of us, our sky overnight clearing on out. Winds, well, they're relatively light, may pick up a bit toward the coast in the afternoon, but dry conditions throughout this afternoon. Notice up front, we do have a front coming in. The front stalls, and it won't work its way into our area until right now it looks like Sunday. Quick check on the pond for you. Running moderate the next few days. Elm, quinopods, and ragweed, your problem pollens. Here's that 7-day forecast as I see it. 84 is the average. High will go 83 this afternoon. Mid-80s for your Saturday and Sunday. And by the way, if you're boating, winds this morning will be about 5 to 10 knots. Then they're going to pick up out of the west this afternoon at 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet or so, and a moderate rip current risk if you're swimming. Mid-80s Saturday, Sunday. The front drops in Sunday night. Again, no rain with it. Not much of a temperature drop, as a matter of fact. It'll swing our wind around. We'll go 84 on Monday, lower 80s Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Potential for a sprinkle by the middle to end of next week.
Talking about your health, a new study suggests people who live alone have a higher risk of dying from cancer compared to those who live with others.
The timing is important as there is a growing number of Americans living on their own.
As part of Mobility Week for the state's Transportation Department, community and city leaders took part in a special activity to get a better understanding what people living with blindness experience every day. The blind experience took people on a short walk while blindfolded.
A lot of our employees need to get to work and get home safely despite their ability to see, and so we love an opportunity to shine a light on the Mobility Week awareness and making sure everyone knows the laws when it comes to protecting pedestrians.
Transportation Department and Lighthouse Works are aiming for 0 fatalities and serious injuries on roadways.
If you purchased a Fisher-Price toy train for your child or your grandchild, there is a chance it's being recalled. The recall involves about 21,000 of the Thomas and Friends Wooden Railway Troublesome Truck and Crates, as well as a Thomas and Friends Troublesome Truck and Paint toys. You can see their pictures alternating here for you. Fisher-Price says a small plastic piece with a high-powered magnet that connects the trains can loosen or detach hatch, posing a choking and ingestion hazard for children. No injuries have been reported yet.
Orlando police holding a community meeting talking about efforts to curb crime.
We're going to take you through some of the serious concerns brought up by residents in our next hour. Keep it here.
Now let's take a look at what's happening in our community, brought to you by the expert injury attorneys at Todd Minor Law.